You do.
I went to Misrad HaPnim in the morning.
Oh, that'll do it.
The place where poems are born.
My roommate inspired me to slam about my tears, so I'll do that.
So Leanne, yeah.
I don't call Misrad HaPnim for nothing.
Okay. Deal Misrad HaPnim. 4 months, 7 days, and maybe 2 hours. That's how long I've been trying to prove my Jewishness to you. Step 1. Bring a note from my father. You tell me, this is not acceptable. Please bring a letter from a rabbi who is not your parent. Come back in 1 month.
1 month?
My stomach lurches as I run past the crowds of Jews and nuns and study abroad students to find a bathroom, and suddenly everyone around me is Palestinian. The air is spoiled and quiet. A young man with gelled hair looks up at me, his eyes puffy and raw as if he's been crying, and I think, well, here it is, the family unification room. I think back to Munir, turning to his beautiful wife, Rania, and telling her softly, sometimes I wish you had never married me. You could have had a better life. And she mouths to me, no, come on. Giggling like a love-struck girl, Misrad HaPnim, this is why I will never make Aliyah. Although I will lie to you and pretend that I want to. Step 2. Solicit a note from my Hillel rabbi. Bother him for weeks to fax me the letter, even while he is mad at me for publicly criticizing his institution in the newspaper. I apologize profusely. I'm sorry, you're right. I know nothing about social change. These things take time. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that in public. I'm really sorry. The amount of sorries I will spit out to get my stupid letter. Step 3. Your rabbi's note is not sufficient. We need a hard copy. Step 4. Obtain a hard copy. Step 5. Your rabbi's note is not sufficient. It says here that he has known you for 5 years. What about before that? How does he know you were born Jewish? How does he know your mother was born Jewish? I fight the urge to scream, my mother's name is fucking Tzipora. What more proof do you need? Misrad HaPnim. I remember the last time Jews were checked for their Jewishness. Misrad HaPnim. I remember learning in that ivy-covered ivory tower that the definition of Jews as a race was born in Spain in the years leading up to the Inquisition. Misrad HaPnim. Is blood all I am to you? Can you smell my curly hair and my big nose and my 1 in 30 chance of carrying a Tay-Sachs gene? Before I met you, I had never really contemplated my racial pedigree, but now, almost like an obsession, I'm building a resume of my racial history. It seems like that's all you want from me, and it feels dirty, but please, you're the one who started this. My mother's family comes from a small shtetl in Misrad, Poland. It doesn't exist anymore, but I found it in the DC Holocaust Museum one time in high school. Her grandmother followed her husband all the way to the snowy frozen ground of Manitoba. Her great aunts and uncles spread like constellations over the dark face of the planet, some young Zionists in those ridiculous khaki jumpsuits. Pamachnikim, kibbutznikim, Yudim, bli safek Yudim. Some were determined to wait in diaspora for the Mashiach. They sat Shiva for their brothers and sisters who made Aliyah. And when the Nazis finally arrived, they set their own house on fire and burned in their own flames in the sanctification of God's holy name. A martyrdom second only to Masada. Misrad HaPnim, I knew you would like that one. Their father held the keys to the local synagogue in Beit Midrash. Their story is in Yad Vashem if you're interested. Misrad HaPnim, I've never told you this story because that would make me feel dirty. Misrad HaPnim, not only am I Jewish, I'm white. I'm the fucking Ashkenazi elite. I know all about the Litvaks and the Breslovers and the Karlbach tunes and Debbie Friedman and egalitarian, non-denominational, partnership, radically feminist, I'm not Ethiopian, so I can't be some weird African tribal mix of Christian and voodoo, and I'm not Mizrahi, so you can't mistake me as an Arab in disguise. And my name is Leanne, which comes from Laika, so basically, I'm a mix of white country rock and old country Yiddish. HaPnim. I'm standing in front of a bunch of people right now, bragging about my racial pedigree. HaPnim, is that what you wanted?
Yes, it is.
HaPnim, let me tell you about those wintry nights back in Winnipeg. Family video, camera pointed at Baba, holding my 6-pound newborn self. A deep, goofy dad voice comes out. What do you have to say for yourself, Pupigo? I smile and look up at my Baba, and she smiles and looks down at me. My mother takes me in her arms and frees one hand to light the Hanukkah candles. This is the Shamash, sweetie. This is what lights all of the other ones. My baby voice coos. Baby eyes fix on the tiny flames, and the camera moves to Zeta Jack, sitting at the head of the table. She's a smart one, he says. And as he was wont to do, he sits back and smiles wide. My Zeta was more of a proud observer than a talker. HaPnim. I'm thinking of the tiny children in Kippot crowding the dilapidated hallways of my middle school. There was that one time that the ceiling gave way entirely and a brick fell out, narrowly missing Andrew Friedlieb's head. I still remember his shock, compounded by the water and soot that came pouring out and covering his face in dust. Our teachers used to joke that this building was a lesson, meant to teach us that it's what's on the inside that matters. We were Jewish and our building wasn't up to safety code at all, and it was what's on the inside that matters. HaPnim, I'm thinking of that sloped green hill in the Berkshire Mountains, with the ark at the bottom, and the wooden benches, and the willow trees, and the milkweed that stained our fingers. I used to wait for that moment on Shabbat morning, guitar strumming, wind gently playing with my hair. And we would get to that section of the Amidah. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Everyone would get quiet for a moment. The song leaders would close their eyes. And then the music would return, carrying us to the end. Years later, when I was in charge of those campers, I would sit with them on those wooden benches and feel the magic. Until Jake would start filling up his underwear with rocks, and then I would have to discreetly make him take them out.
All right, Jake.
HaPnim, are you afraid to evaluate me by my dreams? HaPnim, my first kiss was with a young, 19-year-old Moroccan man. When I'm at the beach late at night, waves crashing under the stars, I will always think of him. And I don't feel guilty. HaPnim, I stopped keeping kosher because I wanted to eat in other people's restaurants and figure out for real if I actually like Mexican food. HaPnim, I think Israel is missing some good Mexican food. HaPnim, you are humiliating. You are a humiliation, and you have no imagination. And you have such a narrow definition of a nation, and you should be ashamed of your creation and your selective emigration, but your stagnation and aberration will not rob me of my sensation or motivation. Just try me.
Yeah.
Woo! I remember Munira telling me, they can delete Rania. One click on their screen, and she's gone. She's just a number to them. And I'm just a blood sample.
Yeah.